The Baker of Bellford. A cold winter in Belford. Many years ago, in a small English village called Belford, life was simple but often harsh. Winters came with biting winds that howled through the cobbled streets, and snow blanketed the thatched rooftops. In the center of the village stood a little bakery run by Edwin Thatcher, a kind-hearted but poor baker. Edwin wasn't wealthy, his clothes were patched, and his boots worn thin, but his shop was always filled with the warm smell of bread and the soft light of a fire. The villagers often said, "No one ever leaves Edwin's bakery hungry, because even those who couldn't pay would find a loaf placed in their hands." But kindness came at a cost. Edwin struggled to keep his shelves stocked, and some nights he went to bed with little more than crusts for himself. Still, he never stopped sharing. The stranger in the snow. One particularly harsh winter evening, when the snow fell so thick it muffled even the church bells, a stranger stumbled into the village. His cloak was ragged, his hands blue from cold, and his face thin with hunger. The villagers saw him and whispered, "He's not from here. We've barely enough for ourselves." One by one, they turned him away. At last, the stranger pushed open the door to Edwin's bakery. A gust of cold air swept in, but Edwin only smiled. "You look half frozen, friend," Edwin said, guiding him toward the fire. "Sit, warm yourself. I'll fetch you some bread." The stranger's eyes filled with tears as Edwin laid before him a steaming loaf and a mug of broth. "But I have no money to pay you," he whispered. Edwin only waved his hand. "A hungry man's stomach doesn't care for coins. Eat, and may warmth return to you." The village in crisis. Weeks passed. The winter grew worse, and soon Belford faced a new crisis. The mill that ground their grain broke down. Without flour, the village would starve. Panic spread like wildfire. "How will we bake bread? How will we survive until spring?" the villagers cried. Even Edwin, who had stretched his kindness thin, feared the worst. Then, one morning, carts appeared at the edge of Belford, piled high with sacks of flour, grain, and provisions. Alongside the wagons rode men from the next county, offering help. The villagers were stunned. Who had sent this aid? When they asked, the riders gave a simple answer. "Our Lord, the Earl of Wexford, heard of your plight. He says your village has a baker whose kindness is known beyond your borders, and he will not let Belford fall." The stranger revealed. That evening, as the village gathered around the much-needed grain, Edwin remembered the stranger he had fed weeks earlier. Something tugged at his memory, the man's posture, his voice, his weary eyes. He realized the truth. The ragged stranger had not been a beggar at all, but the Earl himself in disguise, traveling to see how his people were treated in times of hardship. While others had turned him away, Edwin had offered bread and kindness without hesitation. The Earl returned days later, no longer in rags but in his fine cloak, and he greeted Edwin warmly. "You gave me food when you had little to give. Such kindness should not go unnoticed. From this day, you and your bakery will always have my protection." And true to his word, the Earl ensured flour and grain were always delivered to Belford, no matter the season. Edwin continued to bake, never changing his ways. He gave bread to the hungry, warmth to the cold, and kindness to all who entered his shop. And long after Edwin was gone, the people of Belford told their children the story. That winter we survived, not because of wealth or strength or power, but because one poor baker chose kindness when it mattered most. Moral of the story: kindness is never wasted. The smallest act, given freely, can ripple outward and change lives in ways we cannot imagine.